Is it hard to keep focus when studying? Does your motivation decrease week after week? Then this is the perfect place to be. In this video, I will go through the top 5 most studied tips to help you get back on track and feel motivated to study. We have gathered the best tips from all the top scientists, professors, and entrepreneurs that will help you get into the right mental state to help you get the success you want. If you stick around to the end, we will give you a bonus tip that will accelerate your information intake with real-life training techniques. Stick around and hope you enjoy.
A few years ago, I began to observe something in my own behavior that made me a bit uncomfortable. And that was that from the moment that I woke up to the morning, to the end of the day, my life was a series of screens. I started the day with the thing that woke me up first thing in the morning, my phone. And so I sat there in bed watching various cooking videos on Instagram and bouncing around between a bunch of different applications. But then it was time to get out of bed and cook breakfast. And so the thing that I focused then on, in addition to the omelet in the pan, was the iPad that was right next to the oven. And then it was time to do some work. And so I went to a different screen, which was attached to another screen itself, all the while this little devil on my wrist was tapping and beeping and blooping and distracting me as I was trying to get important stuff done. But there was one particular offender out of all of these different devices that I wasted more time on than anything else. That was this dastardly thing, my phone. I could spend hours on this thing every single day. And so I decided to essentially, for all intents and purposes, get rid of the thing for a month. As an experiment, I thought I'm gonna live on this thing for just 30 minutes every single day at a maximum. And so this is the amount of time I have for maps. This is the amount of time to call my mother. This is the amount of time that I have for everything that I could possibly want to do, to listen to music, to listen to podcasts. And I observed what happened during this time. It took about a week to adjust downward into a new, lower level of stimulation. But once I did, I noticed that 3 curious things began to happen. First, my attention span grew. It was like I could focus on things not effortlessly, but with much more ease than I could before this experiment started. In addition to this, though, as I was going about the world, and especially when my mind wandered a bit, I had more ideas that my mind arrived at. And on top of this, I had more plans and thoughts about the future. Getting rid of one simple device led to these 3 effects.
About a year ago, I asked my YouTube followers to play a simple computer programming puzzle that I made with a buddy. The object of the puzzle was to get your car across the maze by arranging these code blocks that represent typical computer programming operations, such as if-else statements and while loops. Once you thought you had a good code, you would hit run, and your car would move based on the commands you had in the program. So I asked my YouTube followers to play it because I said I wanted to prove that anyone from any background could learn to code. 50,000 of them took the challenge and attempted the puzzle. But the truth was that I didn't actually care about proving that anyone could learn to code. What they didn't know is that we actually randomly served up 2 slightly different versions of the puzzle. In one version, if you hit run and you weren't successful, you didn't lose any of your starting 200 points. We showed you this message. However, in the other version, if you hit run and again you weren't successful, we showed this slightly different message, stating that you lost 5 points from your starting 200 points. That was the only difference. In one version, if you failed, we simply took away 5, no value in the real world, no one will ever see these completely meaningless fake internet points. That minor difference is crucial to keep in mind for the results I'm about to show you from the 50,000 data points we collected. For those who were penalized for failed attempts, their success rate was around 52%. For those who were not penalized, their success rate was 68%. That statistically significant delta of 16% was really surprising, and almost seemed too hard to believe until we looked at another piece of data that we collected, which was attempts to solve before finding success. It's shown in orange right here. So those who didn't see failing in a negative light nearly had 2.5 times more attempts to solve the puzzle. As a result, naturally, they saw more success and therefore learned more. So if you think about that and sort of unpack these results, the trick to learning more and having more success is finding the right way to frame the learning process. And this observation seemed really profound to me. It made me wonder, what if you just framed the learning process in such a way that you didn't concern yourself with failure? How much more successful could you be? How much more could you learn? And the next thought was that if this is a real effect, clearly there must be some evidence for this in real life. It made me think of toddlers. It's my boy. I helped make that. They are constantly trying new things, and they certainly aren't concerned with failure. When my son learned to walk, he didn't think about how dumb he might look if he fell down. And as his parents, we didn't punish him if he wasn't successful either. The focus was always on the end goal, and we celebrated the successes with him. As a result of constantly failing and trying and discovering new things during that phase of our life, we discover so many more new capabilities within ourselves, and it's not even close to any other time in our life. But maybe using a toddler is sort of cheating because their brains are different than ours. To make the case that perhaps they aren't that different than us, I'd like to tell you about a plumber I first met when I was 8 years old. He was Italian. When Super Mario Bros. Came out, my friends and I became obsessed. Like, we wanted to get to the castle and rescue the beautiful Princess Peach from the evil Bowser. We get to school and ask each other, like, dude, what level did you make it to? Did you pass the game? We never asked each other about details on all the different ways we might have died. When it comes to games like this, no one ever picks up the controller for the first time, and then after jumping into a pit thinks, I'm so ashamed, that was such a failure, and they never want to try again, right? What really happens is they think, oh, I've got to remember, there's a pit right there. So I think next time I'm going to come out with a little more speed, I'm going to jump a little bit later. The focus and the obsession is about beating the game, not how dumb you might look if you get hit by a sliding green shell. And as a direct result of that attitude, of learning from but not being focused on the failures, we got really good, and we learned a ton in a very short amount of time. We were the right side of this graph. This is what I call the Super Mario effect, focusing on the princess and not the pits to stick with the task and to learn more. And this concept of life gamification is more than just like, have a positive attitude, right? Or never give up. Because those sort of imply you're having to endure against your true desire to quit. I feel like when you frame a challenge or a learning process in the way I'm describing, you actually want to do it. It feels natural to ignore the failures and try again. In the same way, a toddler will want to get up and try and walk again. Or in the same way, you want to keep playing Super Mario Bros. Or in the same way, the group on the right had a desire to stick with that puzzle 2.5 times longer. They weren't getting paid to do that. Nobody was forcing them or watching them. It was just them on their computer alone in their house. Their outlook made it so they wanted to keep trying and learning.
No one wants to spend more time studying than they need to. But what if we can create the conditions in your body and external environment to successfully learn and retain information better and faster? Learning effective study techniques can ensure that you are fully prepared for your tests, midterms, and exams. There are massive benefits in setting aside some focus time during your day. I like to start my focus time at around 7 p.m. It's when I've just had my dinner, I'm done with all of my after-school classes, and I'm ready to settle in and do some work. In the beginning, I didn't really have a schedule, and I just did my homework whenever I had time. But then there were always interruptions. After school activities, my favorite show, and even dinner time. And every day would be different. It was quite disorganized, and I ended up not finishing some of my work on time. But setting up this appointment with yourself will help you be more committed. Consistency breeds success, so organize your calendar well, pencil in your reading time, study time, and yes, even playtime, and stick to it. Where you can study can have a massive impact on how you study. As comfortable as it might be, laying in bed or lounging on your sofa will not help you do better, quicker, and more effective work. You need a flat surface with a suitable height and a comfortable ergonomic chair. Now, let's tidy it up a bit. This means no dirty plates from this afternoon's lunch, no magazines or even books to distract you, and more importantly, no mobile devices to tempt you. Have exactly what you need to get the work done: books, stationery, the computer if you're using it, and here's a good suggestion: drinks and a snack. I don't know about you, but I can't stay focused when I'm hungry. So having water or juice and some healthy snacks like nuts or fruits keeps me satisfied for a longer time. It also keeps me from getting up often and running the risk of being distracted and interrupted. Very few of us have dedicated spaces in our homes where we can shut out the outside world and focus. Most of us have shared spaces. We have siblings playing in the background, mom may be in the kitchen cooking, dad may be watching the news on TV. Life goes on and we can't stop that, but we can control our immediate environment. We can control what we're listening to. Ever since I came across this app that plays ambient sounds, I found I can block out all the distracting noises and really focus on my work. I especially like to listen to the sounds of nature, the soothing drizzle of rain, the crackling sounds of a campfire, and the soft chirping of a bird song are all excellent ways of shutting off the outside world and focus on the task at hand. And there you have it. Set up a routine, organize your workspace, and get in the mood with music. 3 small but very effective ways to get you in the habit of being more efficient and studying in less time. Up to 2 years ago, I used to spend more than 3 hours doing my schoolwork. I worked at odd hours, I wasn't organized, and got easily distracted and often interrupted. But by slowly and surely following these strategies, I find that I don't need more than 1 hour to complete all my assignments. That's something I'm proud to accomplish and would like to share with you today.
So, I have a little test for you. Don't panic. I'm not here to judge you. It's just a little test, okay? First, you get 30 seconds to memorize 10 words in the right order. After that, you get 30 seconds to write down what you remembered. And then finally, you get 30 seconds to check your answers. So, are you guys ready? Well, we're gonna start anyway. So, memorize 10 words in the right order in 30 seconds. In 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, stop. Now, write down what you remember. Okay, and stop. Now, quickly check your answers. Okay, and stop. So, very exciting. I heard a lot of grunting and moaning, so I hope I didn't stress you out too much. Now, a moment of reflection. I'd like you to ask yourself, how did I memorize this? And was it the best way to do it? Now, for the generation of my parents and grandparents, being able to memorize something like this was an absolutely essential skill. But nowadays, why would anyone want to remember a list of anything? You just take a picture of the screen and you're done, right? So, with all the technology we have these days, it seems as if memorizing has somehow become less important. Memorization is about a lot more than just learning your French or your Spanish words. And today, I'd also like to share this with you. So, in the beginning, I made you do this little test, just to make you aware of how you're memorizing things right now. Next, I'd like to give you a new type of memory experience. This time, you can even sit back and relax. So I'm going to ask you to find a comfortable position to sit, to close your eyes, and to take a deep breath. Now, I want you to think of someone you know called John. And I want you to see him. Now, John just grabbed the sun out of the sky, and he just threw it on your feet. And now your feet are getting really big and red and swollen because John just threw the sun on your feet. Now, you look to your knees, and on your knees, you see 10 little guys playing basketball. Very strange sight. And on their shirts, you can see in brightly colored letters, the New York Knicks. So you have some Knicks on your knees. Next, you look to where your thighs are, but they're gone. Your thighs have been replaced with Fords, the cars. They could be Ford Focuses or Ford Mustangs. Your thighs have been replaced with Fords. Now, with your bottom, you feel a hard plastic seat of a go-kart vibrating. With your bottom, you feel the hard plastic seat of a go-kart. Your belly starts rumbling very loudly. So you follow your belly and it leads you to McDonald's. And there, Ronald McDonald starts shooting rays of light at you with a ray gun. Ronald McDonald is shooting rays of light at you with a ray gun. He hits you on your chest, and now from your chest, a big bush of gray hairs is growing. A huge bush of gray hairs growing from your chest. So obviously you hurry home to shave it off, and on your doormat, you see a letter. So you open it, and it has good news. As you read it, you feel a huge weight falling off your shoulders. A huge weight falling off your shoulders. Your shoulders get all light and tingly because you just paid all of your bills. Big bills, little bills, each and every bill has been paid for and you have plenty of money to spare. Now, you proceed to the bathroom because now on your neck, a bunch of tiny bushes of thin blonde hairs have appeared. On your neck, a bunch of tiny bushes of thin blonde hair. As you look in the mirror, suddenly your mouth just starts talking all by itself. And it's saying, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Yes, we can. Now you turn around, and now suddenly your eyes hurt. Because Donald Duck just poked out both of your eyes with a trumpet made of pure gold. Now, you can open your eyes again and come back to this place. Luckily, it's a lot safer here than where you just came from. So, I just made you guys memorize the past 10 presidents of the United States of America in the right order. Now, I'm going to show you, and then you can see how many of these you still know. So, with each body part, I'm going to ask you what happened there, and then you can think of it. Even better would be if you just shout it out. Now, what happened to your feet? John threw the sun. Yeah, President Johnson. Now, what happened on your knees? Knicks. Yes, President Nixon. Okay, so what were your thighs replaced with? Fords, President Ford. Okay, and what did you feel with your bottom? Okay, President Carter, yes. Some people are ahead of the game. Now, your belly led you to McDonald's. What happened? Okay, Ronald McDonald shooting rays. Okay, so Ronald Reagan. He hit you in your chest and you got what? Big bush of gray hairs. Bush Senior. Yes. Now, your shoulders got light. Why? Paid all your bills, Bill Clinton. Now, what did you have on your neck? Okay, yeah. A bush of thin blonde hairs. Bush Jr. What was your mouth saying? Yes, we can, President Obama. And what happened to your eyes? Yeah. Donald Duck, trumpet, pure gold, who else but Donald Trump? So, if you memorized more this time than the first time, please stand up. Okay, so we have almost everyone standing up. That's awesome. Now, if you think this way of memorizing is more fun than the last way you used, please stand up or remain standing if you're already standing. Oh, whoa, now we almost have everyone. I'm very pleased to see this. Okay, you guys can sit back down. Thank you very much. Now, when you make bizarre images to memorize, suddenly it becomes a lot easier. If you tie these bizarre images to a place you know well, like your body, suddenly memorizing things in order becomes a lot easier. Okay, well, cool. But I asked you guys in the beginning, why should we, in today's day and age, still want to get better at this, at memorizing? Well, because by getting better in a skill like this, you can also get better at a different skill, the skill of experimentation. By experimenting with different methods of doing things, I found out that I can get better at anything. I found out what works for me and what doesn't. What if I'd never learned the skill of experimentation? I may have never gone back to school. I may have never enjoyed studying psychology. And I probably would not have been standing here today. Because one of the things I thought I really couldn't do was public speaking. Now, there are people of every generation not doing things that they might love, that they might even be great at, because they think they can't do it. So how beautiful would it be if in schools we can teach kids that they can get better at anything, and they can even get better at getting better at things, get it? But not just the kids, because the older generation is often seen as too old to learn. But they're not too rusty. Anyone can improve themselves by experimenting, and I hope you experience that today.